Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar this afternoon. We've got a very exciting topic today talking about process mining and how organizations can get a real insight into what is actually happening in their organization. I will invite the presenters to introduce themselves, but can I just say I'm really excited that we have a very international panel today talking about process mining, and also a lot of expertise to not only show what process mining can do for an organization in theory, but actually how it works in reality and which kind of results you can achieve by investing in that kind of capability. Our organization has around 200 people now, and we help organizations working through digital change through both business consulting, but also technology implementation. And we operate in Europe and in Australia. I think it's fair to say our heritage is European. We were founded in 2010 over in 3 countries at the same time in Europe. And now we've also expanded to Australia. And while I've got a very Germanic accent, I'm from Austria originally. I've now lived in Australia for almost 15 years, so I well and truly call this home. But I am now in a role where I get very good insights and tools and brains from Europe to help companies in Australia solve their challenge, which is something that is, for me personally, very exciting. Our service portfolio, being a digital consultancy, is quite broad, but in Australia, we're very much focused on helping organizations through business and digital consulting, and I'll touch a little bit about that on that later. We help with modern e-commerce architectures, and we help them to structure the core information in their organization, which is often related to products, and how to better manage the product information that organizations have. At this stage, and I would ask Jack to take over the presentation and share with us who Celonis is and what they can do.
Great to be here and presenting to everyone. So thanks very much for your time and investing an hour of your afternoon to talk to us about process mining and what's happened at Globus. I think Tobias is really the star of the show today, so I just want to get through a little bit of what is process mining, who is Celonis, and then we can get into the case study, which is going to be really interesting and really insightful. So I look after our ANZ region for Celonis. My sort of background is in consulting and pre-sales. I was in the UK organisation for 2 years, and I'm really lucky to work for Celonis, one of the fastest growing software companies in the world at the moment. So we're growing year on year and really innovating and pushing the boundaries when it comes to analysing processes, understanding them, and then also taking them to the next level of what we call execution management in a sort of new enterprise software category. So where we sort of start with this journey is I guess the complexity inherent in any business, and this comes from multiple different systems, and these systems can be quite fragmented and rigid and be quite fixed in an organisation. And then there's all these different layers of complexity. Each of these systems has a different data layer, which creates mismatches, which creates headaches. Each of these different systems has different teams maybe running it in different geographies. Maybe we've got data quality issues, we've got manual handoffs here, there, and everywhere. And this really creates what we call execution gaps in a standard business process. And this process might be something to do with leads and sales. It might be something to do with how we're procuring goods and bringing them into the organization. It doesn't really matter. We're always subject to these execution gaps. And that is largely because organizations are not making the most of their data, of the data that resides in their systems. And so we build BI applications, we build these things to try and help us and give us indications of where things are going wrong and where there's opportunities to fix. But what Celonis is doing, what process mining is all about, is taking that underlying digital footprint data that often doesn't get used, sort of sits in audit logs, it sits in these big behemoth systems. It doesn't often get used. And what we do is we take that system data, we take it from the likes of SAP, Salesforce, Hybris, Dynamics, Oracle, all these kind of commodity systems. We bring that into our execution management system platform, and then we can do a real number of fantastic things with it around analysing exactly how that process is running. Where are the bottlenecks? Where are the manual handoffs? Where are the holdups and all these types of things? We can then sort of plan and simulate how things are going to improve, and then we can also automate and take action off the back of these insights as well. And we do this in a sort of real-time setting. So just to give you a quick view of what that platform looks like from a sort of, I guess, an architectural standpoint, or they call this, I think, marketecture, is we have that real-time ingestion right at the front end. And actually, we've just announced an acquisition today of lenses.io, which brings that real-time, brute force into the platform as well. That's run off Apache Kafka, which is the same technology that Google Maps and all these great real-time applications uses. We then do process and task mining. And so this is, again, that's uncovering where these bottlenecks are, where the manual handoffs are, what the areas are for improvement, what the root cause for these are, and all the kind of detailed in-depth analytics are that you wouldn't get from a typical analytics project. We then sort of identify where those issues are, and we move forward into planning and simulation, saying, right, where's the low-hanging fruit? Where are the opportunities for improvement? Can we simulate some of these areas of improvement? We're also announcing some new functionality in that space this week at our global world tour. And then we move into improving these processes on a day-to-day basis. So we're looking then at visual and daily management, sitting on top of these myriad of different systems, understanding where things are going wrong as they're going wrong, alerting our users to them, and then crucially taking action back in those source systems. And this is really where the sort of intelligence behind the automation all comes to light. So we do this for multiple different transformation domains, multiple different use cases. I don't want to touch on all of these, but just a couple of them. Operational excellence, I think Tobias is going to go into that quite a bit at Globus, but we can also do it for things like cloud and system migrations. When we're consolidating ERPs, when we're migrating to a new ERP, we use this sort of X-ray technology in order to say, right, as we're migrating this process, or as we're combining them, whatever we need to do, let's get the absolute source of truth. Let's understand where the areas are for improvement, and let's make sure we actually get ROI from this improvement. We do things like intelligent automation. Shared services is another one that's sort of huge for us, because when we outsource our processes, or when we insource them, or that sort of yo-yo that some organizations go through, we really want to understand what's actually happening at that outsourced end as well. So if we have an offshore organization that's running our IT tickets, for instance, we want to know exactly what's going on in that process. And that X-ray layer is really important to saying, is our BPO provider running this in the right way? How can we try and optimize them, and also work together to try and get some win-wins with them as well? We do this across all process areas. So, I mean, we've sort of highlighted a few here that are particularly strong for us, and our customers get particular benefit from. And that's really because a lot of the issues in things like, opportunity management, accounts receivable, procurement, they're all common to businesses. The challenges are always the same, and the solutions are often very similar as well. So we look at these core processes, and they're also great areas to achieve fast ROI. So we develop a lot of content and provide that to our customers in order to help turbocharge their improvement and really get to that sort of value add position very quickly. We do this at leading corporations. So obviously we're talking about Globus today, but really any vertical we look at, we're very, very strong, have a lot of really great experience with some of the biggest corporations in the world. And when these corporations invest in sort of a process mining and a Celonis initiative, the trick really is to make sure that they're measuring the return on investment. So as we go through this journey, we're identifying what's going wrong. We're saying, what's the value of taking this from, let's say, 10% to 50% if it's a touchless invoice rate or something like that. And then as we do that, as we make those system changes, as we turn on the alerting, as we do all these different things, we want to actually make sure that the needle's moving in the correct way. We then capture these insights, and then we have a really great story to tell about the value that we've unlocked from what was potentially a relatively dormant system before that. So just pause it there, and I'll stop sharing and hand over to Tobias.
Yeah, thanks for everyone being here. My name is Tobias, and I was the head of e-commerce at Globus for the last 5 years. A bit more explanation on that. From 2011 to 2016, I was working as an e-commerce and omni-channel consultant at For You and Your Customers. Then I had the opportunity to go to Globus and build up the e-commerce business for Globus there for the last 5 years. And yeah, just 1 month ago, I decided to come back to For You and Your Customers. And now I'm working as a consultant again for You and Your Customers. And I'm happy to share my insights and my experience that I made at Globus with you today. We did the same webinar like a couple of months ago, where I still was the head of e-commerce at Globus, so I still have the slides in the Globus design. That's why this is. And I would like to share my experience with process mining at Globus with you in the next 25 minutes. First of all, let me quickly say a few words about Globus. What is Globus? For those who don't know, it's a Swiss department store and with a long tradition, with a long history. The company was founded in 1892. Here on the picture, you see our first department store in Zurich. It's very close to our current flagship store in Zurich. It's just over here. Company exists for 130 years. So we sell typical department store assortments. We have a strong focus on fashion. We have home and living assortments. We have beauty products. We have wine. We have food, delicatessen, and so on. So like typical department store. Globus belongs to a group of other luxury department stores in Europe. So, for example, there is the famous KaDeWe in Berlin, and some other big department stores in Hamburg and in Munich in Germany. Then there is the whole Rinascente group in Italy. So there is the department stores in Rome and in Milan and in Florence, and there is the Copenhagen there's the Illum in Copenhagen in Denmark, and this all together is the group. And we belong to that group since last year. We got bought from a corporation of Central and Signa. That's our new investors last year in February. And now we're happy that we joined that group. Our goal or our vision is that we want to become the leading omni-channel retailer for luxury in Switzerland. We are already like the leading omni-channel retailer in the premium segment, and now we want to grow more into this luxury segment at the moment. And we have 8 department stores in Zurich in prime downtown locations. We have more than 1 million customers in our loyalty program. So for those who don't know, Switzerland has around 8 million inhabitants. So that's I would say around 15% of all Swiss people are in our loyalty program already. 80% of all Swiss people know Globus, so we have a very high brand awareness, and we also are omni-channel retailer, so we have also an online shop, and we have it's very connected to our brick and mortar business, so we have a lot of those omni-channel services. For example, every salesperson has a mobile phone with a shopping app in their pocket, and if a customer wants to buy something, they can just scan the product and scan the loyalty card of the customer. It automatically places an order, an e-commerce order, and then it gets shipped to the customer's home. Or customers can use services like click and collect, click and reserve, or every item that exists that is on stock in a store can be ordered via the online shop. So or you can check out also the stock availabilities in the store. So that's everything that can be connected between brick and mortar and online. We did it more or less. So there's a lot of those omni-channel services, and this is also one of the topics I want to explain to you today. Yeah, e-commerce and omni-channel is pretty important for Globus. So we had a strong growth rate during the last years. In average, the e-commerce business grew 90% in the last 5 years. This is the total share of revenue for Globus, about 13%. We have more than 24 million visitors each day. Each day would be nice. Each year on our website, and the revenue that comes via omni-channel is 22%. So that means every kind of order that comes from the stores, from a salesperson, or any kind of order that is shipped to a store and picked up from the customer in a store accounts as omni-channel revenue in our company, and this is 22%. Yeah, omni-channel is very important for us, as I said before. You see it also in the spending of the customers. So a customer that is pure online spends around 328 Swiss francs in a year at Globus. A customer that shops only brick and mortar, only offline, spends around 1,000 francs, Swiss francs at Globus. And customer that use both channels, they spend more than 2,000 Swiss francs in a year Globus. So this is really what makes those omni-channel customers very valuable for us. So this is the nice side of omni-channel for us, so that there is that we have those valued customers, but also omni-channel is not easy. It makes it much more complex. So the processes to do omni-channel are much more complicated, and we really need to get transparency in those processes to give a very good customer experience, and this is where process mining takes place, and where we use process mining to really give the customers a good experience. And this is also the main topic of my speech today. And I would like to jump into the topic right now with this little example. You may all maybe remember those pictures, like I think it was in March this year when this ship, the Ever Given, was stuck in the Suez Canal, and when this happened, there was a trade loss of $9 billion US every day when this blockade happened. And what has this to do with process mining? What was for me really fascinating was not the fact that that happened, but was how the media reported about this topic. And I realized that there were like two kinds of news articles that I could find on the internet. So one type of companies, they had their news articles about that incident, and they showed a very static map, and they explained, okay, here, this is the Suez Canal, and here is where the Ever Given is stuck at the moment, and you can see that this is where all these things happened. And then I also realized that there were a few news articles on the internet, and they were using a tool to display what's really going on there. And the tool is called vesselfinder.com. And on that tool, it is an interactive live map where you could really see what's going on at the moment there. And you see that the Ever Given ship here is blockading the Suez Canal. And then you could see like other ships are coming up. And then you could see that like there was a traffic jam. I don't know, do you say traffic jam but when you talk about ships? I'm not sure, but you know what I mean. That there's a traffic jam coming up, and you could also click on those ships and see what their position is. You could see what where they wanted to go. You could see how many tons they have on rate there, and get a lot of additional information. And you could really see in real time how this blockade was going on. And I want to speed it up a little bit. So at the end, you see really that there was a lot of ships that were stuck there around that Ever Given, and really could see the position of all of these ships. And this works because every ship is sending out a GPS signal with the information about the ship, with a timestamp, with some GPS coordinates, and then this tool gets all this information together, and you can have an interactive map to really see what's going on at the moment there. And so still, I'm not talking about process mining, but this kind of the differences between those two kinds of news that I found, or the presentation of the reality, reminds me very much about process mining. So, and I just would like to explain that to you. So here on the left side, you see a static process model of our order process at Globus. And this is a model we have created in a workshop together with some of my colleagues, and we sit down and we painted and said, okay, these are the different status in our order process, and we painted it on the wall. Then we digitalized it. Then we put it in our wiki maybe 3 years ago. We never touched it again. So it's probably also pretty outdated because some new services were added. And but it's a very static model of the reality and of our process model. And then on the other side, we have Celonis, and we have process mining technology. And here you really see the same process, but really see the process as it is happening in our organization, and how the different process variants and instances are going through our organization and through our IT systems. And this is really this is the reality how we think it is, and this is the reality how it is really happening. How is this working? So this is, I would like to explain how we set this we set everything up and how it is working. So everything that happens in your company that is driven by IT systems, if it's a process, or if it's a customer visiting your website, or if it's a product that is purchased from your buying department, or as everything leaves digital footprints. So digital footprints is the same like the ships that are sending GPS signals with a timestamp to this tool that we saw before. Digital footprints in an organization with IT systems are entries in a log file. So every system, every time something happens in an IT system, it creates a log file, and then it creates an entry. And this is something that looks like that. For example, in this example, oops, I was too fast. So in this example, we see a log file of our web shop. So we see a customer with an ID did something at a certain timestamp, and he what he did was he viewed a product detail page on our online shop. So this is one of these digital footprints that we have in our log files. Another example is our order management tool. So when a customer places an order in our online shop, we see that there is an order ID, that there is a timestamp, and for example, we see the status that the order was shipped at that moment. Or another example is in our ERP system, we use SAP. There is, for example, a product that was purchased by our buying department at a certain time. And we do have millions of these informations in our IT systems. So these log files are full with these timestamps. And now what process mining does, it connects all these information. And for example, if you put all information of a certain customer together, you get a customer journey. If you put all information of an order process together, of an order together, you get a good picture how the order process works. Or for example, you can realize how your real product life cycle is happening in your organization. And this is a very useful information. You can put this all together. You can see all the different variants of your processes in your organization, and you can use it. And now coming back to the use case of Globus, the first use case that we had is our order process. So when a customer places an order in our online shop, first of all, here you see the happy path. Okay, so this is straightforward. So someone goes into our online shop, places an order. Then the order is picked in our distribution center, and then it is shipped to the customer. So this is pretty straightforward, nothing special with it. But then with omnichannel, there is another dimension that happens. So, for example, we can also say that an order is created in the store with the app of a salesperson. Then it can happen that the product is picked from a sales staff in the store and then maybe shipped to the customer, or also shipped to the store for pickup for the customer. And of course, we have all these kind of combinations that are possible. And then we just added a third dimension. We also work with partners. So it is possible for partners to offer their products on our online shop, but it's not our product. So it's like a marketplace like Amazon or eBay or so on. And then it can happen that the order comes from the marketplace, that the order is not picked from our distribution center or our store, but from the partner's warehouse, and then maybe shipped to the customer, to our store, or maybe to a partner store. And then, of course, all kind of combinations, again, are possible. And this makes this process very, very complicated, because there are a lot of IT systems involved. There are a lot of different departments and people involved, and physical goods have to be shipped to different locations. And but for the customer, it's still just an order. So it's an order in the online shop, or an order from a store, and he does not know about all this complexity that's going on. He just expects that the stuff that he ordered will arrive at his home or at the pickup station in the time that we promised him. So he's not aware of that, and we really need to make sure that this process is running very well and gives a good experience to the customer. And so how do we do that? We use Celonis for process mining, as I explained before, and I would like to deep dive with you in how we use Celonis and really show you the use case in the tool. So this is the dashboard of Celonis that we use for our order process. And here on the left side, you see the process explorer. So what you can do now, you can this is the happy path again of our process. You can now zoom in, add more status to this process. For example, here I'm selecting all processes that have a pick from the store, so where an article is shipped from the store. And I look at all those process variants of that have that study. And here, for example, we see that we have a long cycle time of 24 hours between these two process steps. And I would like to visualize what's going on there and see how many processes are really running through that. Now I can zoom in, so I can add processes with more status. So here you see it gets more and more processes with more and more exceptional status here. And then I can also zoom in and show all process variants that really happened in our system. And now it's really, that's the funny thing. You just now see this is all process variants that really happened in Globus in, I think the time frame here is 5 months. So this is our complete order process. Here now on the right side, I'm interested in all orders that took longer than 5 days, because our promise to the customer is 4 days delivery. And now I have all processes more than 5 days. And now I change to another dashboard. That's the dashboard we created for all these store picks. And here, for example, I see all the stores that we have, and I can choose now. You see, for example, the store of Lucerne. They have an average cycle time of 68 hours. I can filter here and go to all orders that went through Lucerne. And here, for example, down here, I have the different departments. This is home and living. So I can filter down for all orders that happen in this, came from Lucerne in this home and living department. And then I go further into a next dashboard where we have a detailed overview over all orders, and I can select single orders in here, take a look what's going on there, and go more detailed. Now I see even the products that were in that certain order. And for example, what we now figured out, that this is a product that was on liquidation. And for example, here we also have the situation in our stores that products that are on sale or on liquidation, they are sometimes not on the floor, but somewhere in the rooms behind the floor, and it takes people very long to find those products. And for example, what we did here, we removed all these liquidation products from that store pick process, so that we have here very good cycle times. So this is the one example in Celonis, how we monitor our order process. The next use case for us at Globus was next to the order process was the product life cycle, and especially the process how to get physical products online to our online store. Before we start with that, just one explanation. We are in fashion business, and as you might know, in fashion business, products, the regular sell period for a fashion product is about 2 to 3 months. So there's a product arrives at Globus, and then we have a couple of months to sell it regularly, and then the sales starts, and we have like these markdowns, 10%, 20%, 50%, and after the sales cycle we have to move the product to the outlet where it is sold maybe for I don't know, 40 or 50, 60% markdown. So the period to sell it on a regular price is pretty short, and therefore it's very important to us to bring a product online very fast. So usually it works like this. So the partner of us delivers the goods to our distribution center. Then the products get distributed to our physical stores from there. And then the goods, the products are available for sale in our brick and mortar business. And for e-commerce, we still have to do some things. We need to take photos of those products, so they are sent to the photo studio, and then all product attributes need to be added, product descriptions and so need to be written, and then the products are available for the omni-channel service, but they're also available in the online shop. And this period over here is like the gap that needs to be very short, because if it's too long, we really have a bad margin on the product. So this is very important for us. Now I would like also show what we're doing in Celonis to solve that. Here we have different dashboards again for these product lifecycle processes. This is the dashboard for the photo process. So here again, I use a different approach. Here I want to filter down all products of the summer season of 21. And I want to see what is the situation in the photo studio at the moment. So now I can filter again and look at all products from the last 2 months. And then I want to see all products that did not come back from the photo studio yet and see what's the problem there. And I go to different dashboard where I have the views of the all articles that are at the photo studio now, and I can really see details of all articles. What is the current status at the moment? I can even jump into the online shop, see if it's already online, and if what is the situation there. Are there nice pictures of it, so I can really look what's going on there. And we also have a different dashboard for it that gives us an overview. What is the overall situation of the online quota? So we have a quota that tells us how many % of the assortment that is on stock is already online. So at the moment in this dashboard, we see 94% of all sellable products that are on stock are online. So that means 6% is missing, and we can figure out what's going on there. So we select again the status, so all products that are not online yet, and we can then go and deep dive again what's going on there. It's also very important for us to get an overview by brands. So for example, here we see that Polo Ralph Lauren has still 40 products that are not online. This is very important because we do a lot of newsletter marketing based on brands, and we need to make sure that all products of that brand are actually online. And now we can here deep dive again and see what is the situation. So we see all the steps that happen in this process. For example, here we see what is the status at the photo studio of that product, or we can see what is the delivery status. Was it sent to the photo studio? Did it came back from the photo studio, and so on. So this is also very, very important for us, and that we always have the current situation of the process where if a product is online yet or not. So that was the second use case. Just want to give you some more information what we really achieved since we did that. First of all, one of the biggest achievements is that we really got transparency on those processes. We really knew what is going on in this omni-channel process, in this order process, but also in this process of getting products online. We didn't have that before in that kind of granularity and this transparency. And of course, we could really identify potentials and pain points in these processes and could avoid them. And also a very nice side effect of Celonis is that it's not only a process mining tool, but it's also a very good BI tool for us. So for example, when you have to do some ad hoc analysis of your orders, for example, if you want to figure out what was my return rate on Black Friday for all fashion products. Before we had Celonis, it took me like 2 hours to figure that out because I had to do exports from our SAP system, merge data together, do reports manually. And with Celonis, I can just filter some stuff together and have like in 2 minutes, I have my answer to this question. So this is very, very nice side effect for us. Measurable, we achieved also some very nice things. So for example, I explained to you just that we have this online quota, and before we have used Celonis, there were situations where we didn't know actually how much of our assortment is online at the moment, and by just getting this information manually, we figured out that there's maybe 20 to 25% of all products that we have on stock are not online, and we cannot sell them online. So this was a big problem. And after introducing this process with mining with Celonis, we reached a quota with over 95%. And also we could reduce our cancellation rates for orders below 1%. And we achieved that we have all orders, 99% all of the orders are in the SLA to what we promised to our customers, that we send it in 4 days. So this is what we achieved. But what is next? As Jack explained, Celonis is not only a process mining tool, but it's also an execution tool. So what we plan to do next at Globus is that we automate our processes. For example, all these omni-channel things where we can really figure out which store has an issue right now. What we do, we take the phone and we call the store and ask, hey, why are you not sending the products in the time that is promised? What's the problem? How we can resolve it? This is manually at the moment, but what we could do with Celonis is generate notifications that are sent to the employees of the store and say, hey, you are overtime. Take a look at that. And Also, one thing that we plan to do is that we integrate in the orders also the customer satisfaction feedback. So one project that is going on is integrating the Net Promoter Score and add this to the processes that so we can see also which process variants are resulting in a good customer satisfaction and which process variants are resulting in a not so good customer satisfaction. And then we could also make predictions on that, so that if you see that you're running into a process that is that often results in a bad customer satisfaction, we could, for example, already inform the customer about that and excuse for that. So send them an email. So you probably might have a not so good experience with us, but here's a 10 francs voucher for that. So these are the things that we like to do in the future with Celonis. So that already brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope it was interesting for you. As I said, I am available now For You and Your Customers as a consultant. So whenever you have questions on that topic, whenever you would like to discuss it further, if you want to start your Celonis project, just don't hesitate to contact me or contact one of my colleagues in Melbourne. Feel free. I'm happy to answer any questions. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tobias. This was really interesting. I've seen it before, but every time I'm quite amazed by about what you've done at Globus. That brings me to the last part of the presentations of this webinar, which is talking about how you can create a better overview of what is happening in the organization using the exploded view, which is an intellectual property that we've developed For You and the Customers over the course of the last 10 years. Now, before I start with what is the exploded view, I actually want to talk a little bit about what is a model in general. A model is a simplified representation of a reality. So it's information about the reality that two people, like for example, Jack and myself, can agree on. If I look at this map, we understand that is a map. A map is nothing else than a model and a representation of a reality of where things are located around the area that we are showing in this map. In this case, I picked Melbourne, and both Jack and I will be able to read it because we understand how to read a map. Now, an exploded view is a model about an organization and about the organization the company interacts with their customers. A map can be quite easy to understand because if it has roads on it and houses, it's not so much different information that you actually try to capture. But capturing what an organization does and how an organization actually generates value by the value chain, selling and then delivering products, services, goods to their customers, mapping all of that out in a visually easily understandable form can actually be quite complex. And in order to do that, we have developed this exploded view, which is a 6-layer model that starts with the customer, because ultimately the customer is what pays our bills, what pays our payrolls, what really makes sure that we can keep going with the mission of our organization and that we have the revenue and turnover that allows us to keep doing what we are doing. And clearly, the customer we want to keep happy. So the customer interacts with an organization using the experience layer. That is often in organization, you manage this as a channel. It can be your bricks and mortar store. It can be your online channel. It can be your Facebook feed. It might be your call center. But also if you, for example, are a product manufacturer, the way how you package the product that ultimately the customer will receive is also one of those touch points that would be on the experience layer. Now, if you think about the organization as a cube, the experience layer is really the surface that the customer gets to see. What happens inside in the organization is then represented on these other layers in the exploded view. The organizational layer contains the people and the structures and the hierarchies that you have in your organization to fulfill the needs of the customer through the channel. The performance layer contains the processes and services that you execute. The asset layer contains the tools, assets, often IT systems that you have to actually support those processes, but also it could be, for example, your reach of brick and mortar stores would also be an asset in your organization. And ultimately, the foundation of it all is the data that you have on the data layer. In the most simplistic format, your product data, your transactional data, and your customer data. Now, requirements, when I think about improving and changing, requirements usually flow from the customer to the experience that they want to have inside the organization. So they flow top to bottom. The actual implementation of those requirements really flows from bottom to top. Because if you want to create, say, a great new customer experience, you cannot do this without actually getting the data right that ultimately this customer experience will be based upon, and then getting the systems right and changing the processes and changing the people in the organization so that they know what to do in order to create that great customer experience. So there's a lot of information in this model, and yet it is surprisingly simple for people to understand. And I'll come to that in a second. How is that expressed? Here's an exploded view that we've created for a customer to map out how they called it smart digital program, how their smart digital program impacts those various layers in the organization and their interaction with the customer. So that when you had a conversation about, okay, I want to change something, maybe I need to change something on the experience layer here, but then that would also change certain elements in my organizational structures, in my systems, in the data in my organization, etc. By being able to create this map on one single page, it becomes a quite powerful tool to help everyone that you need to have this conversation with map out what is the type of change that you need to do. Yeah, regardless of on whether they come from customer experience or from marketing, or whether they are a data engineer or a system technologist. Now, bringing this concept back to our map, because if Jack and I want to meet in our office, which is in Melbourne CBD in Queen Street, I'll open my map on my phone, and it'll tell me, I live in Bayside area in Hampton, it'll tell me 3 different ways to get to the office. Jack might do the same. Say he's in Sydney, he's been at the airport, he might have a hotel in Prahran. Once we can travel again, hopefully very soon, he'll find different ways into the office. So it's great to have a map, a static map, but where it becomes really powerful is when you have sensors that actually add additional real-time information to the information that you express through that map, and then help you with making the right decisions. So for me, depending if I drive, I will get different information depending on where the congestion is, which road I should take. Yeah, I know often Beach Road is a bit congested, so maybe Nepean Highway will get me fast into the office. Yeah, Jack might say, well, actually, maybe I could take a cab and it takes me 18 minutes. But also the other option is I take a different mode of travel, might take public transport, and that then brings me to the office in a different way. And if there is a congestion, it'll show me straight away what to avoid and which route to take it instead. Now, as you can imagine, putting those concepts together, the exploded view provides you with a map of your organization and how you really interact with your customers. But then if you take process mining on top of the exploded view, what you do is you add transparency in real time, and you can then see the congestions about your processes. So for us, this is really a match made in heaven, which is why we are quite excited to team up with Jack and the team at Celonis to add this real-time information layer to the way how we help organizations to evolve and develop further. Because the difference between me going to the office and avoiding a congestion and a, say, order management process in your organization, avoiding a certain real challenge that you can express through process mining, that difference is actually not so great. Good. So ultimately, hopefully process mining will help also your organization to show which rescue boat ultimately has the biggest digger that then gets your ship back on track.